question thought leaders in global business.
When you have a war kind of environment.
Yes, I met the man himself. And here's a selfie. This was literally a goosebump moment at the Formula One in Abu Dhabi just the other week. And I still can't believe that I actually met Ray Dalio himself, the legendary investor, the great man. And for this reason, I wanted to make a video dedicated to what I learned from his teachings, what I learned from reading Principles of a New World Order, and then also attending Abu Dhabi Finance Week the following week. I saw him several times. Actually, I filmed an entire session with him. You can check that out by clicking the link in the description. But watch this video first before you click away. If you're curious what Ray Dalio thinks about Abu Dhabi, continue watching because I'm going to cover the Renaissance state and how that framework applies to the UAE. There are literally countless sources out there, books that he gives away for free at events like the one in Abu Dhabi just last week. I got my free copy, and also obviously all the videos that there are online. The book is available online. You can really check out so much, and it's really inspiring to see what he calls that he's at a stage in his life where he wants to give back, where he's not about making even more money, but he's about giving back what he learned and inspiring other people to also achieve success. So yes, there are countless sources out there of materials, of videos, books that he's just put out there to share his knowledge. But in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 takeaways that I have had and how I've adapted some of his theories to my own personal life. If you're interested in what you can learn from Ray Dalio, subscribe to this channel and continue watching. The first key learning I want to talk about is to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. It's so easy nowadays to be cynical. The news cycle is based on bad news because that apparently sells better than good news. It's easy to get carried away with thinking about how things were better back in the day and things are not as good anymore. And here for me, who I want to keep a positive mind, a positive outlook on the future, I found it very helpful to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. If you look at the day-to-day, the most recent elections, the current environment of the economy, current events of tragedies going on in the world, it's easy to get wrapped into this downward spiral, but that doesn't help anyone. It's better to just take a deep breath and step back and look at the bigger picture, because most of the time there are bigger forces at play. It's no use to just be emotional about it and put yourself down because it's really not in your control anyway. I recently made a video that was quite popular. I got some very good feedback on it, where I discussed the question, is Europe the world's museum? And I tried to discuss in a balanced way how Europe has developed and what we can expect from it in the future. Check out the link in the description if you're interested in this kind of topic. With all the things going on in the world, it's important to realize that there are always things that we can be grateful for. Especially at a time like this, going towards the end of the year with the festive season coming up, it's even more important to just take a moment and reflect and see it's not all as terrible as you might think. Big picture, I think we all can find something that we can be proud of and we can look optimistically into the future. The second point I want to discuss is built on the first one, which is everything is a cycle and you're not necessarily the problem, but the moment in time is just not right. Okay, so let me just unpack this because there's a lot in there. So first of all, Ray Dalio has these cycles that I highly encourage you to study. There's a debt cycle, there's an economic cycle, there's a power of country cycle, and all these cycles build on the studies of history and how we can learn from history and things that have already taken place to infer what is likely to happen in the future. Now, this is obviously very big picture, but there is a way to adapt this thinking to our day-to-day life that I find very helpful, and that is to not always overly interpret things of being our own fault. That is separate to always giving your best effort. It is more to do with the mindset, because you can give the best effort and have a very heavy mindset, or you can have a light mindset and think of things not as strict and heavy, as a lot depends on the place and time that we are currently in. Here I like the example of a water bottle. I didn't come up with that example myself. I think I saw it in another video. But it goes like this. The water bottle in the supermarket might be worth €1. If you go to the airport behind security, the water bottle might be worth €4. And on the plane, if you want to buy a bottle of water, that same bottle of water might cost you 10 euros. In this example, however, it's always the same bottle of water. The bottle of water hasn't changed. It's always the same bottle of water. If you drink that, let's say 1 liter of water, you're going to get the same level of hydration. The effect will be exactly the same, but the value changes depending on where that water bottle is located. Now, that water bottle example is based on location, but this can also be based on time. And here may be framed in a more cautious way. Ray Dalio says, just because it hasn't happened in your lifetime doesn't mean that it won't happen again. Quite the contrary. Things that have happened in the past tend to repeat themselves, and history tends to repeat itself. Human nature tends to repeat itself. The third lesson I want to cover in this video is the concept of a Renaissance state. Ray Dalio talks a lot about the changing world order and about the dominant state being replaced by an upcoming state, and I highly encourage you to dig deeper on this because I'm not going to give a full overview of this. There is an entire 40-minute video dedicated to this, but a key concept in this framework is the Renaissance state. And the principal idea behind a Renaissance state is that war is very expensive. So if you're going to war with someone or you're defending, no matter if this is a cyber war or a military war or a trade war, you're always on the losing side, no matter if you win. Because any war needs a lot of resources. These resources are very costly to the economy. It is therefore advisable to spend time and invest in what Ray Dalio calls a Renaissance state that is a neutral state. These so-called Renaissance states have historically benefited, or at least were not as negatively impacted from the global wars. Let me quickly run through the 6 characteristics of the Renaissance state according to the Ray Dalio framework. It begins with economic productivity. The high levels of innovation and productivity drive the economy, fostering sustainable growth and wealth creation. There is a cultural dynamism with a sense of openness to new ideas and diversity, which fuels creativity and progress. Third, there are strong institutions. Effective governance, rule of law, and functional institutions support stability and foster long-term development. Education and knowledge, investments in education, and the dissemination of knowledge help develop a skilled and informed population capable of sustaining innovation. Adaptability to change, the ability to adapt and to leverage technological and social changes allows the state to stay competitive in a shifting world order. And last but not least, global influence. Renaissance states often have significant soft and hard power, making them influential in shaping global affairs. So as I run down this list, perhaps you can think of already a few states that applies to. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that pops to mind. But Ray Dalio in particular has identified the GCC region and the UAE specifically as such a Renaissance state. And that's why he set up his family office in Abu Dhabi and spends a lot of time there. This is a great lesson from one of the best investors in the world. Obviously not applicable to everyone. We can't all move to the UAE, but it just makes you think, where can I make some changes in my own personal life and set myself up to be in a more neutral location, maybe invest in a Renaissance state and diversify to cover yourself for events that we've never experienced, but events that have happened before in history. If you're curious about learning more how different regions and countries develop and what lessons we can take from that, check out my video about the future of Europe, how Europe is becoming the museum of the world. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.